Okay, let's start. Good morning, everyone. I see some Educate members and I see other persons who are certainly interested by this Connect and Learn about fair and ethical finance for skills development and employability. Welcome to all the participants. My name is Marije van Breda and I'm Educate's coordinator. Before I give the floor to our speaker of the day, I will tell you a little bit more about Educate. Educate is the Belgian platform for education and development. We have about 50 members in Belgium. All these actors are working in the education sector and providing quality, sustainable and inclusive education to all children and young people is the overall objective of the platform. One of the goals of Educate is to increase the knowledge by sharing international expertise and good practices with our members and with other interested parties. That's the reason why we organize several times a year the Connect and Learn sessions. Today's session is a session organized by APV Rwanda and Chancen International Rwanda, with the support of APV, VVOB, and the Belgian government. It's now about 11 o'clock. The session will last till 12:15. Today we have one speaker, and there are moments foreseen for Q&A at the end of the presentation. The participants, you can ask your questions via the chat box. The session is in English, but feel free to ask your questions in Dutch or in French if you want. I also want to highlight that the session is recorded and that the presentations will be shared on our websites after the session. Today's topic, as I said before, is fair and ethical finance for skills development and employability. What's the situation? What is the topic about? Statistics shows that only 9% of African young boys and girls can have access to higher education, compared to 38% globally. In Rwanda, only 7% enroll in higher education. Yet there is a big need for technical school graduates. What is the main obstacle? The main obstacle is the lack of money for education. Regular banks see young people as risky borrowers. So it's important to develop a financial situation that allows them to study now and to pay back later. In this session, we delve into the Chancen model, which focuses on future earnings rather than the current financial status of young people. We do this together today with Cedric Nsengiyumva, as I hope I pronounce it well, Cedric. Cedric, after working in business development and microfinance for several years, Cedric joined Chancen with a passion for helping others. He excited to support their mission of making education more accessible and boosting social mobility. Cedric has worked in different countries like Haiti and South Africa and spent some time in Angola and Mozambique. The moderator of the day is Eric Ubi. He is program administrator at APV Rwanda. Eric is an expert in TVET with main experience in dual training, curriculum development, trainer of trainers, mentorship, entrepreneurship training, and career guidance. He has worked in South America, the Caribbean, and other African countries. He has work experience with ACTEC, ILO, Japanese Cooperation, APV, AFD, European Union, and IFEF, Dakar OEF. Eric, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Marie, for the introduction. In fact, in order to contextualize the session today, I have just, and before giving the floor to Cedric from Chancen International, I have a short presentation on APV Rwanda's program. As Marie was saying, the main topic today is how to increase access for the youth to training programs, to education programs in general. Okay, so as you see, our program in Rwanda is a workplace learning and youth decent employment support program. In Kenya, Rwanda, Igira Kumurimo Uhange Akazi. This is a 5-year program financed by the Belgian government, DGD. Okay, next slide, please. Yeah, in fact, our program objective is to increase the capacity of young Rwandan women and men to access or create decent jobs. And we are specifically in TVET sector. So we are tackling TVET professions in 6 districts. 3 districts are in Kigali, and the other 3 are outside Kigali in 3 other provinces. The training model we have adopted is a dual training system. And the framework of this dual training fits in a workplace learning policy elaborated by the Rwandan government in 2015. On the top of that, we have also specific workplace learning guidelines that have been elaborated by MIFOTRA, Ministry of Labor, in 2021. So our main partners for the implementation of this dual training is Ministry of Labor, MIFOTRA, RTB. RTB means Rwanda TVET Board. It's like agency of TVET for Rwanda, right? Of course, the private sector. Without private sector, you cannot implement a dual training system. So we signed MOUs with 6 professional associations, and we have more or less 130 partner companies. Those companies are mainly small and medium-sized companies, just a couple of big companies, and we're trying to increase the number of companies, also to increase the number of companies capable to host apprentices of our program. And of course, we have a partnership with 8 TVET schools in these 6 districts. The trades are food processing. Food processing can be milk processing, juice, bakery, such different specialties in food processing. Fashion design, this is the new terminology, but it's tailoring, okay? Leather technology and beauty and aesthetics. The qualification level for our graduates is a TVET graduate of competencies because we are talking about short courses. The duration of these short courses is maximum 12 months, 50% in company and 50% in TVET school. 6 months in TVET school and 6 months in company. And the modules come from, I don't know if you are used to the qualification levels in the English-speaking countries, but in TVET we have the levels are from level 1 to 5. And for these special short courses, we are taking modules from level 3 to 5. Our beneficiaries are vulnerable young women and men aged between 18 and 30 years. Our target is at least 60% of women and at least 10% with people living with disability. Okay. This year we are happy because we have more than 70% of women in our second cohort of apprentices. Next slide, please. So, yeah, in fact, maybe it's good to explain how we why and how we come to partner, to collaborate with Chancen International. We found that this model is very, very interesting because it is an alternative to the traditional scholarship system that we are implementing for RPFA. So we have an important budget for scholarship, but the Chancen International model would be could drastically increase the access to education and training. Instead of giving a scholarship to 10 people, we could have, with the Chancen International model, we could give income share agreements with 50. 5 times more people could benefit from that system instead, or comparing to the traditional scholarship system. So that's the reason we finally, in last November, we are very happy with that. We signed a tripartite MOU, Rwanda Tibet Board, Chancen, and APFA. And we are now with the Chancen team exploring professions that have a high employment potential. Okay, so this is my short introduction. So I think I'm through, and I give the floor to Cedric for his presentation. Thank you very much.
Cedric, thank you very much. I'm extending my thanks to everyone attending this meeting. I'm very honored to be here and present the Chancen model. So as a title, we are talking about a fair and ethical finance. Through the presentation, we'll go through and then you'll get a sense or an idea of why we are calling this model fair and ethical. And the focus is obviously skills development and employment for youth. Next slide. So we have talked about some metrics. I would like here to highlight the last one, which is less of 10% MINUSA demand versus allocation. Let me tell you what MINUSA is. MINUSA is the program of the government of Rwanda. It's a study now, pay later model, a scheme by the government of Rwanda. Every year, they receive a demand of around 50 to 52,000 youth students. They only allocate 4,300 support per year. So you can see that there is a huge gap there that needs to be covered. And the other thing is they only finance students in government universities. So they don't finance private institutions. So I'm putting this there so you will later understand why Chancen is operating in Rwanda and the mission we are having. And next slide. Okay, if you look at the dropout rate at secondary level at 8%, there's a study that was done by a company here called Laterit. They did a survey to understand why we have such a high dropout rate at the upper secondary level. So we are talking about S3, secondary 3 to secondary 6. So this is the door to higher education or to technical and vocational education, TVET. One of the reasons why youth are dropping is financial. So it has been clear that financial is really the main issue that needs to be addressed to allow youth to flow in the education system. When you look at the secondary level student enrolled in TVET, 12% is very low because the government of Rwanda, and Eric can confirm if I'm wrong, won't have a plan to have 60% of graduates coming from technical schools. So if you look at 12% of enrollment, it's obvious that an effort needs to be done there to achieve that target. And if you look at higher education, same pattern, only 19% of graduates in higher education are from polytechnics. Polytechnics, which is the higher after secondary of technical schools. Next slide. Thank you very much. So once we have looked at this, we can identify at least three main issues here. The transition from S3 to TVET, so increasing the number of students in the TVET sector realm. We identify here that dropout rate needs to be addressed through financials mainly. And also we have seen with the 10% of MINUSA that available funding for students is not sufficient. So clearly there is a need for financial assistance to youth so that they can access education that leads to employability. Next slide, please. So where do we fit into this, Chancen? So I have put here our vision and our mission. And I would like you to focus on some keywords here, which are solidarity, community, potential, increased income, and ethical. So through the presentation, you will see that I will address these points to show how Chancen is addressing this issue based on a feeling or a sense of community, providing an ethical financial product on the market. And also this program, the main or the goal is to increase the income of excluded youth. And we'll define excluded youth later on. Next slide, please. So this is a very complex. I try to put everything in a simple manner so we can both have a clear idea. So everything starts with funding. So Chancen use funds from investors, both social and impact investors. So we have a team, especially even our CEO called Batia Blankers. She is the one driving the funding part of the model. And then we partner with institutions, education institutions, but we don't partner with any institutions. We vetted them to make sure that this education institution provides programs that leads to employment. This is very, very, very important, because at the end of the day, the student will have to repay, and we don't want a model where it becomes difficult for the student to pay back. We have talked about excluded youth. So they signed, they agreed to repay the money. Now, what is very, very interesting in this model is they only pay once they have a job. If the student reports that he doesn't or she doesn't have a job, they are not obliged to pay back. At this stage, most of the time when I do the presentation, people later ask me, but how do you make sure that your money comes back? But I'm sure one of you will ask the question, or I will address it during the presentation. Now, we have data from the partner, so we run our algorithm, which is the first point on the right column. So this algorithm actually calculates the employment rate of alumni from the education institutions. We looked at market data such as interest rate on the market, and all those parameters are put together in the model. And from there, we can have a projection that gives us an idea. Let's say if I finance a student that let's say she is studying food processing, the model will give me an idea that by the time that student will have completed the program, there is a high chance that she will earn X amount of money, that she will be in a temporary job, or she will have her own business. So all those are statistics. It's not rocket science, but at least it gives us an idea of what the future might look like for the student we have financed. So the model is a study now and pay later. Of course, the money that the student pays back once they get a job, it's reinvested with the main idea that next generation will benefit. So it's really the sustainability circle of the model. For the time being, we are operating in Rwanda, which is our biggest market. We are in South Africa, in Kenya, and we just signed our first partner in Ghana. Please let me know if I'm going too fast. Otherwise, can go to the next slide. So now the question is, we have banks. So why ISA, income share agreement? Why income share agreement while we know that the financial banks are proposing products on the market? So the first thing is, and this is very important to understand, is that in Rwanda in particular, there is no financing for students as per se. As you heard, I'm coming from the microfinance sector. All products designed for students are actually a loan taken by parents. So it's not directly addressed to students. And it also works as any other loans, which means it requires a collateral. So you can imagine, I'm 18 years old. I want to go to school. Where am I going to get a collateral? So it's a vicious circle that Chancen is coming to break. We'll see how. There is no payment during the study period. If you look at the commercial bank loans or microfinance bank loans, the model is simple. Disbursement starts 30 days, repayment starts 30 days after disbursement. So in an idea where the youth is studying, he cannot pay or she cannot pay because she is studying. The last point is graduates only pay when they earn above a certain wage. So there are studies that shows that the median income in Rwanda is around 57,000 francs, so somewhere around that, the median income. So the Chancen model says, okay, let me put a threshold, whereas if the student or the graduate is earning less, they don't have to pay. So at least they can live without having that burden of paying back ISA. So we have set it to 80,000 Rwandan francs, which is almost double of the median income. Next slide, please. Now let's look at the same model ISA compared to scholarships. And this is where actually it's becoming very important for APF. There is a study that was done with a partner in South Africa. The partner is called Blue Lever, it's a technical school. They have the two models. They are proposing the two models. So they are proposing sponsorship, scholarship, full scholarship, and they are also proposing ISA. So we asked them to provide us the number of dropout for students in both categories. And we were surprised to see that students that are under ISA are dropping. We have less dropout. So we have concluded that the ISA gives a certain responsibility to the student, to the finance student. The second point, and Eric mentioned it, is, scholarship is cash flow is one way. It's disbursement, only disbursement, and the beneficiaries are limited because, of course, there's a limit to how much money you can get out without getting in. Yeah? And ISA, with the sustainability model, actually the money comes back for the next generation. Income share agreement, the model as it's designed, it doesn't come only with financial support. It comes with a dimension of financial literacy and coaching. So the main idea is we want only to finance, we want to finance the students, but we want them to also be aware of their obligations after. Not only obligation of repaying, but also obligation of what the market will be expecting for them in terms of soft skills, in terms of leadership skills, in terms of entrepreneurship skills. Next slide, please. So everything I've said, I try to put it in just a model where you see the entire ecosystem here. So you have the partner education, which is the schools, and then you have employers. On the other side, you have access partners. I want to just in 2 words to tell you, access partners now are any partner that help us to smooth the transition to employability. So it might be, en français, on dit les agences de placement, HR agencies, job placement agencies, soft skills training provider. So any organization that can help our graduates or our students to be able to enter easily in the marketplace are called access partners. And then we have business-to-business partner, but this model is mainly in South Africa, where we have a partner that actually is between Chancen and the partner in education. And then on the other side, you have the students that needs fair financing. So this gives you an idea, or in the middle now, all of those three in the ecosystem, Chancen comes to put this together and make it smooth. Next slide, please. Yeah, so I wanted to focus here because most of the time they ask about, so how do you choose your partner and what is the process? So the most important thing is the first step, which is called due diligence. In the due diligence, actually, we want to make sure of 2 things. The first thing is the student or the youth will get a job. So to assess that, as I said before, so we look at any data that is related to alumni from that institution. We go through financial statement just to make sure that the institution is stable. And above all of this, and actually I should have started by that, we look at the mission. Because it's very important and it's very sad also. It's very sad to see some partner in education that open door just to make money, punto. And we want to avoid that. We want to make sure that our missions are aligned and everything we do is for the benefit of the youth. Once we have all the data, we go to the product design. That's where the financial risk is calculated. The product design, actually, it's mainly how much the student will be repaying per month and for how long. And this product is different from institution to institution and also from programs to programs. Let's say, let me give you an example. Someone who's who graduates in ICT, for example, and someone who graduates in education. From a graduate from ICT can expect a higher salary. And this helps to reduce the repayment period. In education, we know in Rwanda, unfortunately, this is how it is, this is what it is. Salary in education is very, very, very low, which means the repayment will be longer. And then the next step is the onboarding. Onboarding is the contractual process between the student, Chancen, and the partner in education. What is important to notice here in onboarding, this is where we sit with the partner and agree on some metrics. Basically what it is, okay, partner, we have looked at your number. We know your mission is aligned with Chancen. We believe that your student will be getting a job. We think that they will be earning X amount of money, but do you agree to commit to those metrics? Are you aligned? Do you confirm that you will put necessary efforts to make sure that we meet these metrics? This is very important. This is where most of the partners sometimes they leave at this stage because, okay, they're willing to invest efforts into the mission is low, so they say, I'm not going to commit on this. So, and then unfortunately, we have to stop the partnership there. So basically, you can see that the most important thing is the mission, the commitment to a better future for the youth. Next slide. Thank you very much. So I wanted to give you an idea of why a partner in education will subscribe to Chancen model. We have talked about the mission, and I've put it here first intentionally because this is where it starts. If the mission is not aligned, there's no way we can continue. So from the study we have and the data we are getting from our partners, once the Chancen model is applied in a school or university or technical school, the treasury looks better because Chancen pays upfront the tuition fees. So the institution doesn't have to worry about collecting the money. They can focus on investing in infrastructure, investing on teachers, investing of materials, so they have a better treasury. We also notice that efficiency goes high. I'm talking here about enrollment. Most of the time you see schools that have, how do you call it, an occupation rate of 50%. So 50% of the space is empty, which is a loss of opportunity for them. On the other side, performance goes high because you have more students attending the school, you have more graduates, you have less dropout. We have also noticed that our partners now put much effort to strengthen their career department. Because as I told you in the previous slide, because of the metrics we agree, they need to put effort to make sure that students are well prepared for future employment. And also they keep contact with the alumni, the graduates. You might be surprised that some of the partners didn't have any kind of contact with alumni before they start working with Chancen. And this is something we are particularly proud of. to get that link. We have also noticed that education institutions are market-oriented now, because we tell them, once we have started a partnership, we encourage them to have MOUs with business in place. And this opened door for trainings, apprenticeship, those kind of things. So we keep on encouraging them, asking them, so how many MOUs have you signed this quarter? And yeah, and this is one of my mandates. Personally, I follow up closely with all institutions to make sure that the number of MOU, or at least contact with the market, is done properly. Next slide, please. Yes, so we have talked about that. I'm just giving you some few points that enables the partnership, that makes it possible. So we have seen data, very important. I want to talk to you a little bit about the first loss guarantee, and you will see later on when we will talk about the APFA model, you will understand how this is actually where APFA is unlocking for a lot of TVETs. So the main idea is Chancen will finance the students, but the partner has to put a 20% guarantee, which is in an escrow account. It's a skin on the game. So that we share the risk, but that money actually comes back to the institution after a certain period of time. So you remember we have said that we have agreed on some metrics. So once those metrics are met, the money goes back entirely, 100%, to the schools. Monitoring is very important. We want to make sure that the partner has in place at least one person that can be able to share data. I can see quickly or as soon as possible, because it's very, very important. This model relies on data and not on collateral or money that the student can have. So if we want to make sure that we are updated, we need data anytime. We have talked about non-financial support. So the partner should avail a space where Chancen team comes and conduct non-financial support activities, such as financial literacy, coaching, leadership trainings, those kind of things. We have talked about career department, which is also very important. This enables. Now, it happens sometimes that the partner doesn't have a career department at the time we are kicking off the partnership, but this is something that we put in the contract. We say, okay, we expect you within 6 months to have a career department, and we give support to build that department. Next slide, please. Now, very important. We mentioned in a mission that Chancen wants to build a community, and community based on solidarity. On the next slide, I will talk to you about the solidarity principle of Chancen. Without going into a lot of data, I'm giving you a scenario here. A scenario where we have Faustine, Samuel, and Paula. So both of them has been financed different amount of money because they are in different programs. So now they have graduated, they are on the market. Let's take Samuel, for example, the guy in the middle. He has a net salary of 270,000 Rwandan francs. According to his contract, Samuel is paying 18% of his net salary. By the way, I wanted to highlight that the repayment never exceed 20%. Never. This is one of our fair and ethical principle. So now, Samuel has to repay for 5 years. After the 5 years, he has paid back 2.9 million. Right? Now, on the other side, on the left, you have Faustine. And Faustine, when you look at all the parameters of her contract, Faustine only paid back 2.1 million. Now look at the amount that Chancen has financed for Faustine, which is 4 million. So obviously, after the 6 years of the contract, Faustine didn't pay back the entire money that Chancen financed her. But on the other side, you have Samuel, who's paying more than what he has financed for, and you have Paula on the right that paid back 6.4 million for a financing amount of 5 million. So when you put them together in a same basket, you will notice that the total finance amount for Faustine, Samuel, and Paula is 11 million. And the total repayment of all of them after the contract has ended is 11.5 million on a period of 5 to 6 years. You can see that there's no finance model in Rwanda, or I can even say everywhere, that have only 500,000 of added value after 6 years. This is where Chancen is saying, okay, we can alleviate the burden of accessing by considering all the youth as a group, but not individually, in such a way that one pays for another and it balances. Next slide. Now, here is a case I'm bringing to you of someone called Léonce. Now, Léonce has an average salary of 1.8 million, close to 2 million. If we apply the same metrics that we have done for Samuel, Faustine, the total repayment of Léonce will be 20 million, 5 times more than what we have invested in Léonce, which will be unfair. So now the question is, what is the best way to protect Léonce, or what we call internally the high earners, people that get a chance to have a job somewhere and get paid millions and millions? So the idea here is to look at the market. Maybe we can go to the next slide. The idea here is to go to the market and look at what the market is, what is the interest rate on the market. Here in Rwanda, on average, it's 21, 22% on commercial bank. So we say, okay, let's cap it to 20%, which means that Léonce will only pay 20% per year. This is applied for higher earners. So Léonce, in any case, with the same amount he's earning or she's earning, she will have repaid in 31 months. Instead of repaying 20 million, instead of repaying 20 million. Can we go back to the slide before? Just want to make sure of something. Yeah. Thank you. Let's go back to the following slide. Yeah. So in 31 months, Leonce will have repaid the total amount instead of 6 years. So which means that it's capped and Leonce is protected. So I want just to highlight to you that the 20% Chancen is applying is compared to commercial bank. If you look at the interest rate in Rwanda for microfinance bank, because when you talk about amount like 4 million, 5 million, 3 million, 2 million, most of the time it's microfinance that disburse this kind of amount. In Rwanda, the interest rate can go up to 39%. So capping at 20% is really fair to protect high earners. Next slide, please. So I'm giving you an overview of the partner we are working with. So we have APF. In Rwanda, we have 7 partners. On those partners, actually, we have 2 of them that are into technical, and we have 1 RISEM who is in dual training. In South Africa, all of them are technical schools. Kenya, same thing. Ghana, also same thing. It's only in Rwanda that we still have in our portfolio something like 70% of higher education, bachelors. But in the next 5 years, and with the support of APF, we will reverse the trend and have minimum of 60% in technical and vocational education. Next slide. Yeah, so let me talk a little bit about the impact on the next slide, please. So where are we at now? We started in 2018. Chancen now it's about 3,300 members and more than 2,000 in Rwanda. More than 1,000 graduates. Most important thing, and I wanted to highlight that, and I think we are aligned with APF, is the gender lens. 61% of our graduates are women. Now, also make sure when students are enrolled that we have at least 50%, minimum of 50% coming from, we call it rural area, but actually what it means is coming from outside of Kigali. And then this is very, very important because we want to split the skills and not only concentrate them in Kigali. Here I'm talking about employment rate. 83% of our graduates have employment, but here I wanted to highlight that the first year, 2018, 2019, we had run a pilot test, and the model was not fine-tuned as it is now, and the employment rate for that particular segment, I mean the pilot test, is less than 83%. I think it's around 58, 59%. There's also something we track is the income of our students, of our graduates, I mean. So because we want to make sure that we keep at least their income 5 times more than the national median income. Actually, we cannot really impact on the income, but what we can do is through non-financial training assistance, support them with some soft skills, support them with career guidance, support them with articles. So this is what we do to our community to support them to get higher salary. The last point is very important because it touches the sustainability of the model. Now we are talking about youth, and the question is how do we make sure that they pay back? And what we are seeing now, 90%, actually it's 92% of our graduates that are in repayment phase, actually they are in good repayment standing. And this is very encouraging for us because as you can see, everyone thinks that you cannot invest in youth. And what we have found in Chancen is once you have created a community, once we have shared the mission behind the financial support, it makes repayment easy. And we have proven data for that. Next slide, please. Okay, Eric talked a little bit about the partnership with APFE. So I just want to highlight three pillars. The first one, we said the mission alignment. So APFE and Chancen, we have the main focus is these youth, they need to integrate workforce. They need to have their own business. They need actually income generating activities. And for that, they need access to training. Scalability, very important. So we can multiply by 5 the number of beneficiaries. And the last point is sustainability, because all the members that will get through our partnership with APFE will be part of the community of Chancen, and we have access to a lifelong support, non-financial support, the training, everything, and also they are part of a network. Next slide. So actually, we have talked about that. It's the slide before in details, 80-20. So APFE contributes by giving 20%, paying, supporting with 20% of the tuition fees. You remember we mentioned about the first loss guarantee. This actually equals the first loss guarantee that the school would have paid. And I want to emphasize on something, and this is unfortunate. I have seen during my tenure here in Chancen, I have seen good partners with good missions, very committed, but because they don't have the first loss guarantee, they are not able to tap into the partnership, and this is very sad. So what actually APFE is putting on the table, I can tell you, it will allow a lot of TVET schools that have a strong mission to tap into this model. And I want to thank you, thanks APFE for that. This is really, really good. So what's going to happen actually once the 20% is put aside as a guarantee? At the end of the program with Chancen, that money now serves to reduce the overdue of the students. So for this model to work, actually, we need 4 parties. Eric mentioned about the tripartite MOU between APFE, RATB, and Chancen. But we have also the TVET. You know, when we'll go to the program as per se, those are the 4 parties that will be involved. APFE with the facilitation of the 20%. RATB will oversee the contract signed between Chancen and TVET. And the TVET will provide data, and we will support them also to guide them on which kind of data and to prepare them. And also Chancen will provide the study now and pay later scheme. And the trades, of course, APF and Chancen will work together and identify trades that have a higher impact in terms of employability or building their own business in terms of income generation. Next slide. Okay. I think I'm done here, and I would love to have your questions. Any questions, feel free to ask. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you, Cedric, for the presentation. It's the first time we have a financial topic within the Connect and Learn sessions from Educate. Very interesting. There are no questions in the chat box, Eric.
Oh, no questions so far?
No, so far no questions. So maybe we have to get a little warm up.
Yeah, well, maybe just not as a summary, but I want to thank Cedric for this very nice presentation. I found it very clear because he managed to explain the context and the philosophy, the general philosophy and general objective of this model. And thank you also for the explanation of the ISA, income share agreements model, because of course for the audience it's very important to know how it works. Although we have not been able to go in very specific details, but it was not the objective of this session because it's a short session. I think Cedric managed also to describe the benefits for schools and of course for beneficiaries, for vulnerable people having a better access to training or education in general. I have also maybe that's a question that had not been discussed so far is career guidance. That aspect drew my attention because, for example, I don't know if it's the same in other countries, African countries, but usually career guidance, the lack of career guidance sometimes lead to a very high dropout rate. It means that if we don't have a good career guidance tests for the students, usually they start a training and then after a couple of months they notice they did the wrong choice. So this is also another aspect that we should maybe insist on to get that in mind, because for APF it's a very important component in our program. I didn't mention that in my presentation, but it's very important. Yeah. So I think that Cedric said it all, you know, because the conversation, the presentation was very complete. Now maybe to open maybe the discussion with the audience, that would be good to know if the participants of this session, if they know similar systems or models in their respective countries, or if they know similar models implemented elsewhere, not the Chancen model, but something similar. That would be good to know from the participants if they have some ideas or some information to share with us today. So I give the floor to the audience.
And Eric, there was a question from Aurore. She thanks Cedric for his presentation, and she would like to know if the students in West Africa can benefit from this kind of support to finance their studies.
I guess so. If organizations like Chancen, I think Chancen had the idea also to to explore West African countries to see if that model could be implemented. I think it would be a great idea, of course. Which country are we talking about?
Aurore?
She did mention
no, she didn't mention.
Burkina.
See.
Yeah, I guess as Cedric was saying, they are now partnering with Ghana. Burkina is not very far, and it's just a question of exploring. Because I had also like a comment to share with you. In fact, the problem we have here in Rwanda is that there is a scholarship system implemented by government, but is very below all expectations for the youth. If we had a very huge scholarship system, of course, we wouldn't need that, but there is now a new scholarship system operational at RTB level, but is really below all expectations. I mean, would represent maybe less than 10% of the youth needing an access to training or to education. So that's why the Chancen model is becoming very interesting, and I think that all students know that not all of them can benefit from of a scholarship. They know it. In some establishments, they say, "Okay, we would have preferred to have a scholarship because we don't pay back, right?" Mm-hmm. But when they notice that the scholarship is the scholarship fund is now empty for an academic year, of course, the Chancen model becomes attractive for them, because instead of doing nothing, they can have these through the ESA system, they can get their money to start the training anyway. Yeah, I think Cedric raised his hand.
Yes, Eric. I just wanted to say something to Aurore. Or maybe I can respond in French, si c'est possible. Aurore, merci pour ta question. En fait, je voulais ajouter quelque chose, c'est qu'on a été en contact avec trois universités au Sénégal, dont une s'appelle USSD, Université des sciences de la santé de Dakar, quelque chose comme ça. Et voilà, donc c'est juste pour dire que oui, on s'intéresse à l'Afrique de l'Ouest, on s'intéresse particulièrement aussi à l'Afrique francophone, mais je dois dire quelque chose ici, et ce n'est pas vraiment sur un ton de jugement ou quoi que ce soit, c'est qu'on s'est rendu compte que les institutions du côté francophone ont un certain mal à récolter les données. Quand on compare par exemple avec le côté anglophone, c'est triste, mais bon, c'est ce qu'on voit, ce qui rend un peu ce modèle difficile à implémenter. Mais oui, on y travaille parce que la demande est là. Et on est en collaboration et en conversation avec 3 universités au Sénégal. Je voulais juste ajouter cela.
Thank you, Cedric. Okay. Is there anyone who wants to react to the question that EQB asks here? Are you aware of any similar programs in your countries? Or maybe Eric, you can ask your second question.
Yeah. In fact, we are always wondering when starting such programs if those programs are convenient for all types of education programs. I just giving a small explanation. I think Chancen, for example, started this financial model in Rwanda through polytechnics and universities. And as Cedric was mentioning, of course, you have a higher chance of repayment rate, I mean, a higher repayment rate, payback rate, as the university graduates, when they get employment, they can expect higher salaries. So they can pay back it's quicker for the repayments. But we also said, I mean, it would be unfair not to give the opportunity to TVET graduates to benefit from such a system. Although they might have lower salaries, but as Cedric was saying, I mean, nobody pays back unless they have at least 80,000 Rwandan francs per month as monthly salary. So I think it's fair, and the access is still high. So my question for the audience would be, I mean, do you think that in your respective countries, this system, although it's applicable to higher education, do you think it's also applicable to the TVET sector? You see? I don't know if people are in the audience are in TVET sector or in the education system, if they are linked to the TVET sector in general. Yeah. It depends the experience, of course, of the participant who are with us today, of course. Yeah. There is a reaction here.
Yeah.
Bonjour,
Émile.
Merci pour l'initiative de la présentation. Mais je n'ai pas pu tout lire.
Donc, les étudiants qui bénéficient du programme étudient-ils chez eux essentiellement, à l'extérieur également? C'est ça la question, Émile, peut-être vous pouvez
Oui, c'est mon collègue Émile
expliquer.
de l'APC.
Oui, Émile,
bonjour,
vous pouvez
Émile.
ouvrir votre micro et peut-être
Oui, non, il n'y a pas de problème.
contextualiser.
Bonjour à tous et à toutes. Je ne saurais pas m'exprimer en anglais, mais félicitations à Cédric et aux autres.
En
Il n'y
français,
a pas de
c'est très
problème,
bien.
on continue en français, Émile.
Ok, merci.
Merci.
Et voilà, la question c'était de savoir, lorsque les étudiants bénéficient de ce financement-là, est-ce qu'ils restent forcément chez eux pour étudier ou ils peuvent étudier dans d'autres pays?
Ah, d'accord. Là, je peux donner un élément de réponse. Généralement, ce sont des étudiants. En général, le programme est fait ici pour le Rwanda, pour des étudiants rwandais, dans des universités rwandaises et dans des écoles professionnelles rwandaises, sur le territoire rwandais. Pour l'instant, je ne vois pas d'autres modèles pour l'instant, Émile. Et donc, ils sont forcément, comme disait Cédric tout à l'heure, peut y avoir des conventions de partenariat, mais il y aura forcément une convention de partenariat entre Chancen et une école polytechnique ou une école professionnelle. Il faut un accord avant de signer les ISA avec les étudiants qui vont en bénéficier. C'est bien ça, hein, Cédric?
Ok, d'accord.
Cedric, could you just repeat the question and answer the question in English for the other participants? So the question from Emile. He wanted to know if the students who get this financial support, are they allowed to study abroad or have they study in their own country? And Eric already explained the situation, but could you just confirm or repeat the answer in English for the other participants?
Okay. Thank you. Yeah, you want me to translate, right?
Yeah, or Cedric, because you were asking also at Cedric, is it right?
Okay, Cedric, yeah.
So
okay.
maybe he can confirm.
Yes. So actually, following the question from Emil, the program, the way it's designed, actually beneficiaries are from the country, from Rwanda in this particular case. And like Eric mentioned, you can have a scheme where you have another partner that enters the program as a tripartite or something, but the end beneficiaries has to be in the country, in this particular case, Rwanda.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Emil. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Cedric. Thank you, Eric. Okay, are there any questions left? I may have a question, Cedric. How do you reach the students? How do you make publicity for this program? Because there's a partnership with schools, but for the students who are outside schools and who think they don't get access to this education because they don't have money to finance their studies, how do you reach them? Do you make are you campaigning, publicity? How do you do that?
Thank you, Marish, for the question. It's a very good question. Actually, I remember when I joined Chancen, I was wondering how can we advertise so youth are aware, until I get access to the admission department in university. So I realized that actually the demand for education is so high that basically you don't need to advertise. Because for let's say to enroll 1,000 students, they probably have received a demand of 15,000. So the demand is there. Nevertheless, where we put emphasis in communication is on what Chancen is, because the market has been used to scholarship, used to sponsorship, that they come with in mind that Chancen is free money as per se. Okay? So the communication is not in attracting students to apply in university, but for them to understand what Chancen is and that there's a part of paying back. That's where we focus our communication. Did I answer to the question?
Yeah, sure. I really like the idea that you said we are used to scholarship and sponsorship, so we have to explain
Exactly.
what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, that they have to pay back. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I think we are running out of time, so we can wrap up, I think. Thanks to you both, Eric and Cedric, for being here with us today. I wish you all the best for your future's activities. It was really interesting. First time financial topic, but really interesting, I think. And as mentioned at the beginning of the session is recorded, and the PowerPoint presentation and recording will be available on the educate.be website very soon. And are there still any questions? You can always reach out to us via email info@educate.be. So don't hesitate to reach out to us. And thank you all for your participation. Thank you for your presentation, Eric and Cedric, and hope to see you back at one of our activities. And I'm wishing you a very nice day. And see you very soon.
Thank you, Marai, and have a good afternoon to all participants. Thank you very much.
Soon.
Thank you, Marai.